What's up, internet land? Where are my fellow two-pump chumps? The other quick draw McGraws? The other Minutemen in the YouTube space? Because I myself did have that problem. And I feel comfortable talking about this now because it's not really an issue for me anymore. You know, I've sorted through that issue. But in the past, that did unfortunately be quite a problem in my life and quite a source of stress in my mind. So, I was dating this girl, and the story with this girl is quite a sad one. But we're not going to go into that in this video. I will tell you all the full story at 10,000 subscribers. But for now, I will just tell you a certain comedic element of this romantic entanglement that I found myself in. So, you know, I like my girl short. If she's not short, mission abort. If she's not tiny, she's not mine, Eve. If she ain't under 5 foot, she ain't getting a second look. I had this cute little short little Latina girl. She was so hot. And, you know, she was crushing on me for a little bit, and we were talking for a little bit, and then we ended up dating. And, you know, she was like teasing me about sex and stuff. And she'd be like, oh, I want to have sex, but no, we can't do it right now. Oh, we can't do it in your car, because I was living with my grandparents at the time. And it was a whole thing. We didn't end up having sex for like the first month of our relationship. And so, of course, there was a lot of anticipation for that. A lot of anticipation for how good it was going to be. And, you know, also I had not had sex in probably about like 2 months by this time. So, you know, I was just horny. I was just ready to dig in, bro. And then I took her, accompanied her to her sorority's formal, upon which we hung out at my friend's house and, you know, drank a little bit and had a good time. Upon which she went into my friend's guest room and said that she was going to take a nap. And she texted me this. And she told me to go in there with her, to take a nap with her. And so, of course, I obliged. And, you know, we started making out and, you know, cuddling each other, such and so forth. Upon which sexual intercourse was about to occur. Now, I had said that I was going to go into my car to grab a condom. And she was like, she didn't want to do the condom. She was like, no, just do it real quick. I just want you inside of me. Just do it real quick. You can just pull out. And I was uncomfortable about doing it without a condom, because I did not want to get her pregnant. And, you know, I did quite learn that lesson soon after this. But that's not a part of this story. Once again, I'll get into all of this at 10,000 subscribers, but until then, this is all you're getting. So I went out to my car to go grab a condom, and, you know, she was protesting about it, but I went and grabbed the condom, and then I come back in, and she's like, please, let's just not use a condom. Let's just not use a condom. I just want to feel you, you know? She just wanted to feel me. Just wanted to feel that shit. And so, you know, after much coercion on her part, I finally did oblige. And so, you know, I slipped it in, and God, that shit was so tight, dude. That was so fucking tight, bro. And I think that might have been like the single greatest physical sensation that I have ever had in my life, slipping into her for the first ever time, dude. I felt pure bliss. I felt like I was in heaven. I think I went up to heaven and saw God and gave him a high five and then came back down to earth. But that lasted about 3 to 4 strokes. 3 to 4 thrusts, about 5 seconds or so. Upon which I had realized that I was about to lay a load. Of course, the feeling was so insanely good that I just froze up. And then I skirted my way out of there, but it was not fast enough. And half of my load ended up inside of her, and half of my load ended up on the sheets of my homie's bed. You know, it was fine with him. He didn't mind about it, you know. He didn't mind that we were doing that in there. And of course, I don't feel bad about it at all because he ended up doing some pretty terrible things later. Once again, story at 10,000 subscribers. But yeah, man, had to get a fucking plan B. $50 down the drain. Of course, I was quite mad at her because she had made this happen by her constant, you know, just trying to convince me to go in without a condom. And I had told her that I knew that I would bust very quickly if I did not go in with a condom because, you know, the condom helps sort of like lower the sensation to help you, you know, last a little bit longer. And also, I did not trust my pullout game. You know, I was not very experienced in the pullout game at that time. Still ain't really. And so, shit happened. And of course, she was mad at me because I busted really quick. And, you know, she got mad at me about that on several occasions and led to a lot of insecurity on my part. You know, I'm good with that now, but, man, she was just such a bitch about it. Fuck that hoe. Anyways, that whole thing ended up happening. And then the next day we went over to a little family function, you know, and I gave her the plan B. We went over to family function, which was like her niece's birthday party or something. And then she ended up telling me a few days later that she didn't want to have sex with me for quite a while. She was like, you know, I feel like we did it too fast. I want to wait a while. Because the thing was that at that time I was planning on studying abroad. And I did end up studying abroad in London, which I have stories about that whole experience on my channel. Check out my other videos. But at that time I was planning on going to Japan, but that didn't end up panning out because I procrastinated too much. But she had said, you know, I don't want to have sex with you until after you get back from Japan from now on. And of course, I did not want to wait that long. And I also felt very insecure about the fact that she had said that after I did not last very long. So, you know, it made me feel very bad that she had maybe made that decision based on the fact that subpar sex, which you can't really blame a guy for that shit. Like you can't help it, bro. Especially when your pussy's so fucking tight. Like, you can't help it. Swear to God, man. But, you know, it was about 3 weeks later, and we were at another function, you know, another party at a friend's house. And, you know, she was getting all flirty on me. We ended up going into the bathroom, and she was sort of like grinding on me. And then I sort of like fake like humped her. And she was like, ooh. And I was like, I know this girl's about to try to fuck me after this. You know, she changed her mind. And that was good. That was quite a dub on my part. And I spent the rest of that function, you know, having a real good time, being real happy. Like, I'm about to get laid after this. But then we end up getting into my car, and we end up going over and in the parking lot of her apartment complex. And, you know, I was living with my grandparents at this time, and she was living with her mother. And so the only place that we could really have sex was in my car. And unfortunately, this girl did not want to go into the back seat of the car, or into the trunk of the car, where it would have made it a lot easier for us to, you know, lay down and do the deed. No, she just wanted to do it in the front seat. And that was incredibly difficult because the angle on the front seat, you know, I put the seat back, but the angle in there, the angle was not right. The angle was not right at all. And so I was trying to get that shit going, but it was just the angle, the uncomfortableness of it, and the fact that I was drunk at this time that gave me the unfortunate inability to get hard. And she got mad about that too. That fucking hoe, that fucking bitch, dude. Like, I swear to God, you can't help this shit. And this bitch gets mad about it. Like, what the fuck? I swear to God, that woman is the devil herself. The devil herself. A lot of people like to say God is a woman. God's not a woman. Satan is. Satan is. She lives in Seguin, Texas. But, anyways, so needless to say, the first 2 attempts at having sexual intercourse with this woman was not too good. Not too good. No. Not good at all. And I gotta say, I think that was a bad sign for the relationship as a whole. And as I said, full story at 10,000 subscribers. So if you want to hear it, hit that subscribe button, smash that notification bell, leave a comment, subscribe to my Twitch. Y'all have a good day.